What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. We are presented by Jack O'Hara TV. Take a look at us on YouTube at Jack O'Hara TV. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's episode 601. We are presented by TickPick.com. Use that promo code capital OSHOW20 for $20 off your next order. You should really use TickPick.com to get seats. Super Bowl's right around the corner. The Waste Management Open as well.
Yeah, February 12th, I think it is. So we're like 3 weeks away.
3 weeks away. It's going to be the craziest time in Phoenix because the Waste Management Open already gets a big touristy crowd, and that's going to be all week. That's starting like the 7th through the 12th or something like that. And then you got the Super Bowl week. There's Radio Row all week. There's all the events, all the concerts leading up, and then the 12th is the big game. Yeah. No better way. Get $20 off your Super Bowl tickets.
Yeah,
I know you're thinking of going. Yeah, I know you're thinking of going.
Never knew. So honestly, would love to check it out afterwards, especially for all other events and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you guys use that promo code again, capital OSHOW20 for $20 off your next order. It's episode 601. We got Kristen. He's the COO of RAC Financial. You can see it in the hat here. Thanks so much for coming in today, man.
I appreciate you having me. Look forward to our conversation and yeah.
How many podcasts have you done so far? I know you're getting into it now. You're getting a lot of more invites.
Yep. So who we met through, I was on Nick Hyder's podcast, and then now, your podcast. Going to do another podcast next week, and then maybe that's one of my goals that I talked about is, like getting a little more focus into the social media side of the podcast and other things like that. So yeah, look forward to doing it more frequently.
Now, are you enjoying that aspect of it, or is it something that you have to do because everyone else is getting into it?
It's one thing that it will definitely take some time for me to like. I'm not a big social media guy, but I do like to talk a lot about a lot of the stuff I've learned, experiences and stuff. So that's why I like to come on, and only can get better as we go on. So as I go on more and more podcasts over time or talk to more people, I think it will just only better me throughout my career and growing the company and everything like that. So look forward to it.
And there's so many cool people that we've been connected with and partnered with within the last few years, like Michael Gombert and his business in digital media. Like, you're in the right hands when it comes to making that stuff. Before and above else people that, like, when I started, I literally just had my phone and my iPad. I would just shoot in my dorm room, like record on my iPad. My guest would be on my phone, and that's how I shot all my content. Where like you guys actually have high-end, resources available to you right away.
Yeah, it's funny.
So there's no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, getting into this business, all of a sudden we got into the network of people that are big influencers, podcasts, and everything like that. And we're like, wow, this is a good area to focus because we're such a referral-based business that it's a great way to communicate with people, build partnerships. It's a different way of marketing, having more of a connection there. But it's crazy, like you said, like our networks. It's like it's funny who knows who, and it's just. Yeah, it's a great thing, and I know it's growing like crazy, so love to start building it on my own as well.
Oh my God, the world gets smaller and smaller the more people you talk to, because eventually you're going to run into people that know the same people. And we met through Nick Hyder. We've both been on his show out in Nashville, Tennessee. We first met at the cigar bar, right?
Yep.
Fox Cigar Bar?
Yep, Fox Cigar Bar. I forget what that was for. Oh, Deluxe Group. They were having their brand. They were promoting the brand, I think, the tequila or whatever. So, yeah, I remember us first meeting there when Nick came out here, meeting Nick and meeting yourself. And then it's just crazy how we've all connected over the last couple months, and just more conversations to come, more connections, and look forward to everything we do with each other. So, yeah.
Like, where do you think we would have been, like, 10, 15 years ago without, like, because you look at the people, I'm going to jot out a few names that you're associated with, like Mario Cannon, Peter Meyerhoff, Sheriff Mark Lamb, Cade Lamb, the entire Lamb family, basically, who all have huge platforms today. But 10, 15 years ago, it's like nobody would have thought to use social media as a tool like that to where you'd be considered an influencer or a public figure based on what you did. It was like athletes were celebrities, huge musicians and rock stars were celebrities, actors and actresses, and that's basically what you looked at as like a public figure. Where in today's world, like anybody with a big platform is like, oh, he's mildly well-known, mildly famous, and you're connected with them.
It's crazy how that shift's made. And, just over this time of, like you said, the connections. I think when I talked to Sheriff Lamb as well, he talked about, political side of things. A lot of people look at, the traditional campaigns and stuff like that, where he's focused a lot on TikTok. We see him on TikTok and, and pushing towards that stuff and, getting your name out there. And it's been impressive to see how people have. Even Peter, when I was just telling you, a lot more people that are bigger in the industry are starting to realize, hey, hear his story. And, it's crazy how the network and the relationships are all coming together just through podcasts and listening, even if you get to listen to a little bit of their story.
Yeah.
So
you guys have, your headquarters, your space at Scottsdale Air Park, right?
Yeah. It's one of the toy barns where we store all our cars and everything. But we utilize that spot since we're big into cars, racing, Formula One, all that stuff. So we work out of there, just outside of Scottsdale Air Park. Yeah.
And you did like those one-on-one video shoots with like Peter, Sheriff, Combat Barbie, like all of them. And what was that specifically for?
Yeah. So we started building out a program with Dane Lomax where he was, as we get merchants interested through these networks, is giving a more personalized approach.
Yeah.
So, for example, Peter, someone from his podcast, is interested in saving money, figuring out credit card processing. Now he's getting a video from Peter saying like, hey, I'd love to help you. And then he has the contact information and, you're having your hand held through the process. So you don't feel like you're just, being dumped off to credit card processor. Just have a normal conversation again. It's just another guy to talk to. It's all about the relationship and really having that relationship with the merchant as well. So
it really is like you always want to have like a win-win relationship with people, or else that's just going to fizzle out, right? Like you want to be able to provide value and at the same time get the value back in return and be as transparent as possible with not only your clientele but future people that you want to do business with. And I think you guys do that insanely well.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. That's where we don't even push the whole marketing side. It's all referral. We want to have that relationship because I think that's why those merchants that we're getting, like I just had a couple calls this morning where they break everything down. We're all on the same page and they have great accounts that they never have questions, worried about money being held. And that's the issue is, a lot of these processors out there that are so big, you're just another number to them. They don't know what your business is bringing to the table. They don't understand, hey, maybe 1 month something slipped up. Let's have that talk and put a plan together to, keep it going and keeping the merchant happy and keeping that relationship. And it's amazing how many referrals come from that too. So, yeah.
It's crazy how big a business can get just on referrals. Like that's the crazy thing about sales. All you have to do is make one client happy and they go and tell their friends, their other business owner friends about you. And all of a sudden you have up to 12, 24, 36 clientele that you can do business with. Like you said, like you and Carrie are just like burning the candle at both ends because you have so many people like invested in your product.
Yeah. That's the amazing thing is Carrie started this business. We're about to hit 3 years and already doing over $3 billion a year in processing revenue. And so the cool thing about that is, he started at a point, he knew it was going to be referral based and, talking to people here and there, and it was only going to get to a certain point. But what we realized is it finally got to a point is our relationships with the banks are so much better. So it's not even having the relationship only with the merchant, but our relationships with the bank where they're going to answer the phone. We can talk to the executives and, we're going to do what's best for the processor and the merchant at the same time. And that's why, honestly, I think they want to work with us most of the time with these deals and help us get them done. And if they can't get it done, they're going to help us find, a solution for that. So it's been an interesting ride over the last, I've been on board 2 years, but yeah, it's been wild.
I'd say so. Not everybody has a great relationship with banks.
Yeah.
Most people, like 80% of people don't.
Yeah, exactly. I know sometimes with some of these bigger banks, my accounts, when you get a declined, because they think it's fraud or something like that, and then you got to call in and you never know what's happening. The cool thing is with our banks, we like to we call them boutique banks or boutique processors, but these guys are still doing billions of dollars a year. The upside of going with these processors and banks are you actually get to talk to someone. Like, it's the same rep that you get to talk to every single time. For example, these other companies like, Stripe, Square, it's a customer service contact where you're reaching out and you have to explain your situation to each one. And it's always just trying to find a solution. Hey, what's this issue? So that's our biggest thing, is allowing for people to have communication with us, the processor, and being able to give them the best solution for their industry, for their business, whatever.
How easy or difficult was it kind of learning all of this for you? Because you went from merchant processing from like tech sales, right?
Yeah, software sales.
Software sales for many, many years. How did you make that adjustment? Was it easy, or was it kind of a learning curve?
So it was a learning curve. The upside is with software sales, it's so technical. You have to have the like when I'm setting up calls and talking to massive corporate companies, their technology stacks are so big that we have to make sure things are going to seamlessly integrate, all things like that. So it's funny now from a technical standpoint, it's such a simpler conversation in credit card processing. But the upside is really that I have Kerry as an individual that's taught me tons of stuff. He's been in it now a decade. He had a business prior to this, before starting RAC Financial, which it was in credit card processing. And it's amazing his knowledge over the years. I've learned so much, the numbers behind the processing statements, the pricing aspect, and just being able to watch over his shoulder, and then also us taking the same calls together. Now we're on the same wavelengths that we can do just double as much as we were able to before, because now I completely understand what's going on. I can help consult for these merchants. That's crazy. I hit 2 years in May, and it's crazy how much, compared to other people in this industry, I've picked up, and I've been able to have a conversation and help people get things resolved. So it's a trip. Yeah.
And did it start with just Kerry?
Yeah, Kerry and my mom. They started initially. He decided, hey, I'm going to start this, and it was right before COVID, and there was a lot of concern, as most people would with COVID. You don't know what's going to happen. The upside to credit card processing is it's kind of recession proof, because people still have to buy stuff, and based on the portfolio that we've built, we deal with low risk merchants, which are retail, restaurants. Everyone still has to go, buy food and buy clothes, things like that. And then we have our high risk merchants, which are online sales. They might sell, learning programs, trading platforms, stuff like that. So I think that blend of having both has allowed our business to have a good balance, and our banks love our relationship because we can have that balance. So it's been big. Yeah.
Oh my God. 1,000%, and it's crazy how many people don't really know about it either. Like, I was listening to the interview you did with Nick, just talking about everybody thinks you just have to go to your bank to do this, right? Or like, that's really your only option.
Yeah.
To someone who has no idea what the hell you're talking about, like, what is RAC Financial's main service when it comes to merchant services and credit card processing fees, and how can you help them, and who can you help specifically?
So I think the biggest thing is that we try to communicate is, a lot of people say, okay, well, this is who I bank with. Their first access is, to your point, they'll go to Bank of America, Chase, and they have their processing divisions. But once again, they are big. They have the banking side and then their processing side. So a lot of people start to look for the processors, which could be a Square, Stripe, or PayPal. And where we have a conversation with a lot of these merchants is, the upside with us is we're a true processor. We're speaking to the sponsor banks. We're making sure we're getting you a good account, and we're getting your terminal set up if you need to swipe credit cards and everything like that. And so what RAC Financial is a broker of many different processors and banks that we can set you up with. So it allows us to get you better rates and explain it and break it down, because we'll break it down into a full Excel sheet of, hey, these are the fees, this is what you're paying now, and this is how we're going to save you. And by the way, I don't know if you knew that you're paying an additional fee here, because there's a lot of numbers. I don't know if you've ever seen a processing statement where it's just a bunch of numbers and you're like, okay, well, which numbers can I change or save on or anything? So it's honestly a free consulting area that we just say, okay, we'll break it down. If it makes sense for you, great. But a lot of people get stuck in this flat rate pricing where it's 2.9% and 30 cents a transaction. A lot of people don't know of other pricing models in this industry because it does get a little more complicated, but it's a lot more transparent. And a lot of big box retail stores like Walmart, Target, a lot of these guys, they use that because it saves them so much more money. And when we get into that aspect of, explaining that, I think it starts to click. It's just, it's hard to market it because people are like, well, what does that mean? And then when you explain it to some people, they're like, oh, okay. Like it makes sense. So, yeah.
Do you have an example of like a business that you've worked with where they swipe their card, you calculate the numbers and you're like, okay, yes, we can help you versus someone who you couldn't help?
Yeah. So for example, like Stripe, PayPal, as I mentioned, they're at a flat rate of 2.9% and 30 cents a transaction. So what we do is called Interchange Plus pricing model. So Interchange is the card brand fees. So, every card's got a fee because that's how you get your rewards on your credit card. I mean, typically Visa rewards cards are between 1.5% and 2.5%. So, I mean, even on your debit cards, it's 0.8%. So imagine if you're paying 2.9% and all the card brand is taking is 0.8%. Now the processor is making 2.1% on every transaction. Where if we do the Interchange Plus pricing model, we do our little markup, and let's say it was 50 basis points, so 0.50%, and we add that onto a debit card transaction that's 0.8%. Then you're seeing that you're only paying 1.3% on your processing fees, which is huge. I mean, it brings your effective rate. So now your effective rate being at 2.9 to 3%, now you're bringing that down to what if you're paying only 2.2 or 1.9% is your effective rate across all card brands, all transactions, and it starts to click for people and they go, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So it's a lot to talk about, but once you break it down for the merchant, they go, okay, I see what you're saying. So it's just more the consulting aspect of, breaking it down to them and showing. Yeah. So
this is why you have those plan packets for all the agents and affiliates.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of information to take in.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is with the agents explaining that aspect. I think a lot of them want to understand the pricing up front, and we tried to explain it, which, I mean, you can see I'll break it down a lot more when agents are onboarding or we have new merchants as well. Obviously, I want them to know what they're getting into, but the pricing can get a little complicated, but that's why we break it down not only for the merchant, but the agent, so we all know what's going on here. So, yeah, there's a lot to learn in the industry. It is simple. We're not recreating any wheels or anything. It's credit card processing, nothing sexy about it. But we're here to, give better support, guarantee lower rates, and make sure we're helping businesses keep good accounts open where they don't have any issues with money being held and so on. So.
Which at the end of the day, that is very sexy, especially when we put it on social media and make it look cool.
Yeah.
Your team will take care of you. But when did you get into, or at least when did you think that you became passionate about sales? Like you always wanted to go into business. You originally went to a school that I'm very familiar with in High Point.
Yep.
Have a few friends that went there. Then you went to ASU to finish out. But like you always wanted to get into business?
Yeah. So my dad was in software sales growing up, so I was always around it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as I was growing up, people always asked me, I'd actually spend more time around the older guys that like some of my dad's friends that might be visiting in town and, hearing them talk about software sales or different types of sales and, just business in a whole. So I just always knew that was an area that I wanted to go to, selling technology because businesses, it's a huge thing nowadays. Technology is growing nonstop. So might as well get in there and, help a lot of these corporations. And honestly, it's just something that I was around so frequently. And it's just having so many connections. It helped me grow within the software industry quicker than most people, going from a BDR to account executive very quickly. I knew that's where I was going to go.
So did you have any like childhood dreams or anything like that?
I wanted to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
I'll say I wanted to be a basketball player at one point, but some injuries and stuff and knee issues and stuff, and that creeped away real quick.
Sidelined by a knee injury, classic.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I just knew I always wanted to be a businessman. Software sales was the one thing called my name, from consulting to software sales, somewhere in that mix. And I never thought credit card processing was going to be on the horizon. But it's amazing how you can get introduced to new industries very quickly. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I just have to say it's just due to my connections, networks, and working with people. I mean, it's just led to where I am today.
Just the people that you're working with now from all different walks of life. It's amazing how different people could be, but at the same time, everybody kind of has the same, has to get by the same way, right?
Yeah.
How did you guys go about, whether it was Carrie, whether it was like your input to, recruit a guy like Nick Hyder, or, bring in the master connector and Dane Lomax, or any one of these guys that we mentioned, whether it be Peter, Mario, Lindsay, like anybody that you guys have, worked with, whether it be as an agent, affiliate, just an overall connector. How did you go about kind of building that foundation and the people you knew that you wanted to work with?
I think it really just came down to, I decided to get more involved with, following up, reaching out to individuals. So as I met individuals and if they showed interest, I've talked to Dane and Peter, and, they really had interest in this. And it went quiet for a little bit. We didn't talk for a little while. And it's funny, Peter and I happened to be at a drag race in NHRA in Denver and reconnected. And I think the spark just kicked back up. And then just over the time, they believe in what we're doing. And as obviously with him believing in that, Dane, Peter, and other individuals, everyone started jumping on board because, it's just, once again, just having that relationship, us talking with them. They can pick up the phone, not only as a merchant can call us, but the agents are calling us. Yeah. And, we'll talk to them. They can come by our house. That's how Carrie and I originally worked. We met Dane at the house, Peter at the house, Patriot Barbie, Mario Cannon. All these guys were coming by the house and just talking, and they're like, wow, you guys are pretty open. Carrie broke down all the numbers to them, showed them how you get paid, how this industry works. And I think it's just that transparency. And then they just wanted to refer more people after that. Honestly, it's not even us reaching out. And then, just picking up the phone when people call. That's the biggest thing, is just communicating, honestly. Transparency and communication.
The two most common things for success right there, right? Yeah. I think the number one key is communication, because regardless of how a relationship turns out or burns out, like, it all comes down to, did I communicate the best and most efficiently way that I possibly could in that situation? And then it's up, it takes two to tango. It's up, like, if it's out of your control, there's nothing you could do about it, right?
Exactly, yeah. So that's been a big focus of ours. Even if it's bad news or something, nobody likes to be in the dark. And so that's a big thing, is, we'll try and find a solution to certain things. But hey, if we can't, do anything, we don't want you to have to wait or, get frustrated. And it's amazing. Honestly, a lot of people in this industry just won't pick up their phone. They'll just kind of ignore it because they don't know what to say. And honestly, there's not much to say. It's just tell them what you're doing and relaying that message and just being transparent. Honestly, it's just crazy how simple it is. Now, people might get a little nervous about doing it, but it's so simple to just, have the conversation, and then it takes that weight off your chest, like, it's like, it goes,
they did care,
yeah.
They're there.
Well, okay, I understand, because I've had merchants where they're getting so frustrated, and a bank might take it takes longer than normal, and I'm like, it's coming, the approvals are coming, and we finally get to a point, and I'm just explaining what's happening through the process. They're like, okay, I can understand. Like, I appreciate you telling me that. And it's amazing how worked up they can be when they call you. But as soon as they get off the phone, they're like, oh, I understand. It's amazing sometimes. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Relationships are everything, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
And it all comes down to communication. Yeah, that's crazy, because I'm sure you guys have had a ton of business and a ton of people you probably wanted to work with, and there was just like no synergy there.
Yeah,
it's like they just didn't want to.
Sometimes it's amazing in this industry too, and Carrie does a great job in what I've been learning as well, is a lot of people get so focused on one individual or one opportunity that they want so bad. And it's like, hey, go in, do your pitch or explain to them what you want to do. And you don't really have to push them. Like we've seen so many time after time, that all of a sudden we get a call from a merchant a year later and say, hey, you were right, or hey, yeah, we agree, it's time to move forward. It's amazing how many of those calls we get lately. It's just, being open, showing people, laying it out for them, and just let them be on their own time. Like obviously from a sales perspective, you just want to check in and all that stuff, but it's amazing how it's like, I feel like sometimes in this situation where they say like, you want to date a girl, and the guy that's persistent, like he never gets a date with the girl, which the guy that doesn't care, the girl might be more interested in. And so that's where I think it's even in business. Like, you keep doing you and keep on growing the business, and then they start hearing your name, and it's amazing. We don't even market, and people are like, oh, you guys are RAC Financial. And I'm like, how did you hear about us? It's a trip. So, yeah. It's
because you're connected with a lot of people that do kind of market it well.
Yeah.
Right. What do you tell, future affiliates or future agents that, want to be a part of, what's going on? Like when it comes to like the onboarding process and like, here's what you do, here's how you're going to make your money, here's how we're all going to benefit from this.
Yeah. So I know we've talked about it is, anyone could become an affiliate / agent. And honestly, the biggest area that we tell people to focus on when they first get into this, it's just a great conversation starter. If you know people that own businesses, everyone knows someone that owns a restaurant or an online business, and they might have issues. And, you could be having a conversation and be like, hey, by the way, I'm working with this credit card processing company that's saving people money. Would love to see if we can save you money. So typically, just getting these agents signed up, we'll get them an agent referral agreement. And then from there, it's just getting people interested. Hey, you interested in this? Hey, you interested in this? And really, we just ask for one merchant processing statement, 1 month merchant processing statement, where we can break down the analysis that I was telling you about, where they might be on a flat rate, but we'll show you the Interchange Plus pricing model to show you how you can bring those rates down. And then we normally set up a call where we explain this to the merchant, and then the agent, it starts to click for the agent at that point. It's due by trial, a lot of people need to hear and learn. And so that's why we like to keep everyone involved. And so as you get more interest, it's just a matter of just, these agents call us every single day and we talk to them and explain how we can break things down. Just setting up an agent referral agreement, and we'll get you trained up, quick call, and then we go from there, get as many calls as we can set up, get as many proposals out, and it's amazing how it does take a couple months, but once that third month hits, it's funny how the residual starts coming in, and then people are like, why didn't I do this sooner?
That's nothing, too. A couple months?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. And it's a conversation you can have every single day. Like, hey, by the way, you having any issues with your credit card processing? Have you ever looked at it? Do you know if you're paying too much? And they're like, I don't know. But then all of a sudden they get a call 3 months later and they're like, hey, did you mention something about the credit card processing company you're working with? It's amazing how many times that happens. So it's it's so many other people can do what they're doing now. Say they have a sales job elsewhere, car salesman, and we have several people that do other things.
Oh, yeah.
But they have these conversations and then refer the business, and we'll help you guide through the process of saving them money, getting them set up, and then we go from there. So,
is it more the merrier, or are you looking for specific people to come on?
So, we'll talk to any merchant. Yeah. Typically what we see is as businesses start, they typically go to a Square, PayPal, or Stripe, just because it's just easy to get up and running. And they start to realize as they grow the business to $20K a month or $30K a month, you start to see a lot of these guys notice the fees affecting their business. It's starting to creep up a little more. I'm starting to pay more because my volume's going higher. And that's when we get the call and say, hey, we'll help you, save you On the Interchange Plus pricing model, we can keep you on a flat rate and potentially lower that. So it's not like we have to do it a specific way, but we'll find the best way for you based on what you like, how you like to, process credit cards. The big thing right now is passing the fee on to the consumer from cash discount or surcharging. That's become huge because it's sending a bunch of money to the business bottom line. We have dealerships that we save $500K a month or a year, sorry. And it's amazing. And a lot of people talk about, well, what if I lose a customer? Well, if you lose 20% or like 10% of your customers, is that really affecting, it's still, you're saving tons of money on your processing fees. So it's a conversation that we like to break it down. We'll literally lay out every solution for you and say, okay, right now you're not happy. Maybe you're not happy with the support, or you just want to get credit card processing set up. We're going to set you up the best way. We're going to show you your different options. Instead of, you doing research on the internet, we can break it down and tell you what's going to be your best bet. So,
And do you think that this is going to be like the business model moving forward for years to come for you guys? Or do you think you'll adjust to different things and look into, obviously, different things to strengthen what you're already doing?
Yeah, it should be interesting. With the cryptocurrency side of things, we do have solutions out there that are creeping up that, people are looking, they want to offer cryptocurrency and they want to take transactions that way. So there are new solutions that are popping up. And so it should be interesting how it all shifts. I know there's talks about card brand fees, them allowing, new card brands coming out and stuff. So it should be pretty interesting how it shifts. So I think it's just staying agile to, and always looking for those solutions. So right now, Carrie and I are just so focused on what are the best solutions to provide them. Now, if we have an opportunity to, become our own processor down the line in a few years, maybe that's something we do. But right now, it's just, we love this business model where we keep low overhead, we have our referral agents, we keep the relationships, and we're constantly looking for the best solutions on the market. So not only are we having happy merchants, happy agents, and, it's keeping the RAC Financial name out there. So, yeah.
And what do you guys like to, whether it be bringing in a potential customer, because you want to build that relationship, right? You just don't want it to be, client, business, whatever. What do you specifically, I know you guys are into cars, into racing, you're at the track all the time, you do all this different stuff. I saw Carrie's got the tennis court now at the house. What do you guys do specifically when it comes to building that relationship?
Building the relationships, obviously we like to go to networking events. We do go to a lot of Formula One stuff. We did sponsor women's Formula One racing last year with Caitlyn Jenner's team. So that was pretty cool. I know Carrie and my mom met several individuals over there that led to great connections. We're a sponsor of NHRA, Tony Schumacher. And there's been a lot of business that comes through that.
Yeah.
So that's the only area that we really market in. But it's great to have that conversation, grabbing lunch with people. If they're in town, we'll fly out to places. Like I mentioned, going to Vegas next week to, meet with merchants and have those conversations. Because honestly, it makes, I think, everyone feel more comfortable once it comes down to, submitting a new merchant, getting the account up and running. It just makes a huge difference, honestly. So we'll do anything that we can. Now, we understand sometimes a lot of things become virtual, so we at least try and jump on a Zoom call. And, I'll turn on my camera so you can see my face and see I'm a normal person.
You're real.
I'm not just trying to sell you something and you'll never see me again. So that's the biggest thing, honestly. Sometimes we talk to merchants briefly and they rather it that way.
Yeah.
But as long as we understand what they want to truly do and where they're taking their business is the biggest thing. Just open communication with us. Yeah.
Did you guys have any rough experiences starting out, or even in past job experiences, whether it be, Carrie with some of his businesses, you working in sales, to get to this point of being our moral values are just as important as anything else, and we want to create these win-win scenarios for us as well as our consumers and our customers? Did you have any past things that you learned from that kind of got you to this point to know that this is the correct way to do business?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great thing now in software sales. You work for big corporate companies and they have their vision, but I feel like sometimes with these bigger companies, it's harder to grasp the vision and the culture sometimes. And as a salesperson, you got to buy into it completely. What you're selling, and that's where it's become much easier with RAC Financial, is our solutions. I'm constantly talking with these banks and seeing everything that's happening. So I think it's, our values with RAC Financial is just, focusing on getting the best accounts for these individuals where, I feel if I talk to someone on the phone, I know I'm getting them the best merchant processing account I can. And, I'm going to lay it out there. If I'm going to tell you if it's worth you staying with what you have, we'll be very straightforward. But it's just a matter of, having that buy into what you're selling and believing in it and, having a little more control. Because, I can control, what banks we're going to and what we feel comfortable with and, guiding people in that way and showing people that we can do it.
And are there any specific businesses that you've continued to work with that are legitimately cool relationships that you've built with clients?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a few different. It's amazing how many. I think some of the best relationships have come out of, they've had poor relationships with their previous processor and they've been with a Stripe or something and they had 4 days to find a new account. Well, we have some of these guys that if they go down for a few days, they're completely screwed because if they can't, they have customers that need to be paid out for like a trading platform, for example, and, they're down for 2 days and they think it's a scam at that point. Oh, yeah. So, there's been times I think some of the best relationships we have are the ones that we've gotten approved in 24 hours to, help save their business because they could lose tons of clientele at that point. So honestly, it's most of our best relationships come from, getting them out of a situation. Because I think people don't understand what could happen in processing, like, Stripe, PayPal. You can get accounts quick, but you can get shut down just as quickly. Mm-hmm. And so that's the issue. And that's where we like to make sure that, hey, everything we go through, underwriting reviews your account, we're good to go, and there's no hidden secrets. And you don't have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference. And it's amazing. I have some new merchants that are excited and they're like, oh, well, I got a quick Stripe account. And they're like, well, maybe we'll talk later. I get a call 3 months later and they're like, okay, we need to talk. And so it's really those relationships that you come back around, I think, are the best ones. Because if you just get someone an account, I don't think they appreciate it as much as, they've been through the ringer and they're like, okay, now I know what you're saying. So it's getting that message out there.
Yeah, dude. They have a problem, you have a solution, and then you continue to build on that. Yeah. Like you said, prove that you're like a real human being willing to help them out, from an authentic point of view as opposed to just being a business. And here you go.
Exactly.
There's your solution.
Yeah.
You still enjoying doing these podcasts? Are you getting used to them?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'd love to be on a lot more podcasts and, get better at sharing our message, with credit card processing and everything. I think there's a lot to learn from it because everyone has to do it if you have a business. And I know it can be frustrating at some points and, it's a matter of working together and being transparent once again. So as we mentioned, I'd love to start putting more clippets out there to teach people about this because I think people can get frustrated very easily with their processors and stuff like that till they realize, oh, this is what's needed and this is why this happens. And once again, transparency and communication. So,
and we'll talk a lot more about that because the social media aspect of everything, that is my jam, man.
Yeah.
And I know that's Michael's jam too. So he's literally doing Nick's show as we speak.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
on the other side of the country
today.
Yeah, the hit streak. Yeah. So the last thing I want to ask you, we have a future Mrs. Kristen, right? How did you propose? How did it happen?
So I asked my girlfriend this past weekend to marry me. It was an exciting moment, a little nerve-wracking. Yeah, exactly. It's funny getting getting down on a knee, you never really practice it till it's that time. And yeah, it went well. We actually ended up doing it at my parents' house. They have a beautiful backyard. My girlfriend likes, things to be private and everything. So, yeah, we walked out in the backyard acting like I was going to show her something. And she's like, well, you want to show me? And then I was like, well, I want to show you. And then pulled out the ring. And then, gave my pitch. And, yeah, it went well. She was very excited. She's from Romania, so, she's very excited as well. And yeah, we look forward to traveling back to Romania, see her family now and everything. So it was a great experience.
Are you guys going to have 2 receptions then?
It's a good question. We got to talk about it. So we got to figure out. We now, obviously being here in Arizona, we have a lot of friends here, but she also has a lot of family over there. So maybe have a celebration there, a wedding here, but still up in there, still a lot of conversations to have, but look forward to planning all that stuff. I know it's a lot of work. So
is that like the most nerve-wracking question that you could ask someone? Like, were you nervous? Were you anxious?
I think it's more, me communicating to the fact that I wanted to marry her.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident she was going to say yes, so I don't think I was as stressed about it. But it's more how I wanted to, communicate to her and, just telling her that, I love her and I want to marry her and giving her the whole explanation behind it. And yeah, she made it pretty easy. I don't think she let me finish everything. She's like,
perfect.
Just hug
Best
me.
case scenario.
Yep. So
see, it all comes down to communication.
Yeah.
Communication is key and being transparent. That's what you did. Congrats, though, man. That's a big life step right there.
Yep,
with everything else you got going on, you're the COO of RAC Financial, and the business is booming there. Where can the people find you? Where can the people find you to potentially work with RAC Financial?
Yeah. So you can reach us at info@RAC Financial. Make sure you mention Jack O'Hare on there. Also, we have an agent referral web page, which we can send you to that link at that point. I mean, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram, ColeC720 on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. It's Carrie and I at RAC Financial. So feel free to connect, reach out with any questions. And we'd love to hear, if obviously you heard through the podcast, please let us know. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. I mean, it's once again, we're not recreating a wheel, and it's a great way for people another source of income, and it's all residual. You close a deal, it doesn't go away till the merchant isn't in business or wants to move to another processor at that point.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's stuff that you got to do, right?
Yeah.
And what better way to work with people that you can actually trust and have great moral values like RAC Financial. So I appreciate you coming in today and explaining this to not only our audience, but to me as well, because there were a lot of things I was cloudy on as well heading into this. But this was episode 601, guys, with Cole Kristen. Check it out. Head on over to @JackO'HaraTV on our YouTube channel. Remember to use that promo code, capital OSHOW20 for $20 off your next order at tickpick.com. Check it out.